Welcome back everyone to another Emacs video here. Today we're going to be talking about setting up a deep work timer in Emacs and what's involved in that. And what is deep work, first of all? There's a book by a guy named Cal Newport you can look up. It's called Deep Work. It's all about how you can train yourself to cultivate deep focus in your work. And one of the things that he talks about in there that I liked that I wanted to implement was a system for keeping track of how much time you spend in a state of deep work, which he defines as if I remember correctly, a sustained period of focus in which you're working on a hard task and you have zero distractions, right? So no TV on in the background. If there's some music, like some people like classical music, that's one thing, but you're not checking your phone, you're not checking Slack messages or emails or anything that will take your attention away from the task that you're doing. And when you actually do that, it comes down to the level of the minute, because even 15 to 20 minutes of that can provide a lot of value. But as you go higher than 20 minutes and you try to go up to 30 and so, it actually is pretty taxing on you, more than you might think, to have that sustained level of focus on something that is sufficiently difficult, like a really difficult task that absorbs you. But pardon me while I'm just sitting here in front of this blank screen. Let's actually go into what I'm talking about here. So what I wanted to do, let's open up let's go to the temp file and say, story.org. Let's say I'm writing a story and I've got org mode here. The Adventure of the Dragon, or whatever. So I'm writing my story. I'm a great typist. I'm writing a story. And so, as I said, we want to keep track of deep work. Writing is a very deep work kind of task. So what I'll do here is I have a little function called deep work. So metax deep work, and it prompts me here at the bottom, you see, enter difficult task. So we're going to say writing, and then we're going to hit enter. How many minutes? So how many minutes do I want this deep work session to last? Knowing in advance that I have turned off my phone, actually, let me silence it right now just in case. So the phone is silent or do not disturb or out of the room. It's quiet. There's no email or Slack open or anything that will take my attention. So let's say I want to stay in that state for 15, 20 minutes or whatever. I just put it in and hit enter. But for the purposes of demonstration here, I'm going to show you, we'll just do 1 minute. And you see I have a sound programmed in there from Streets of Rage just to have a nice Sega Genesis sound there to test my speaker, basically, because when the timer goes down, of course I'll see when the timer goes down, but if I'm in a state of focus and I don't notice the timer's run down, there's going to be another sound that will play to let me know the timer's done, the deep work session is over. And basically having the sound come on when you start the deep work, it tests my speakers to let me know that sound is up, it's at a good volume, I'll be able to hear it. If I start the deep work session and didn't hear that sound, I would know, oh, well, what's going on? Are my speakers muted? Is something blocking? Is there something wrong with the function? All of that. So it's just a good way of testing that beforehand. All right, so we're down to 5 seconds here in this deep work session. I'm going to sit back. I hope I didn't break your speakers there. I might actually turn that down in editing to make sure that it didn't do too much damage. So basically now we started a timer with a deep work session, and when the timer ran down, you'll see at the bottom of the screen there in the mini buffer it says added to home/getmaster, that's my user account, /deepwork.csv. So what is that? Well, that's the actual CSV file where we're keeping track of how many minutes of deep work we're doing. So if we actually go there, let's actually go there. Whoop. I'm a great typist. So you can see there's one test I did earlier of 1 minute for writing, and this is the one we just did. So basically what this is a timestamp of when the deep work session ended, a comma separated values, and then the number of minutes, comma, and then the task. And the reason I wanted to keep this a very simple format is because you can go back once. This is just to keep track of it. You can go back in a spreadsheet, or if you have a bash script or a Python script, you can go back and parse this file any way you want. You can keep track of how many minutes, or if you want to divide it out into hours or days, or how many minutes in that month. I wanted this format to be very open, so I can kind of do whatever I want with it. And let's actually now take a look at the function itself. So just to keep track here, we have a timer, we have sounds, and we have a way of keeping track of how many minutes. So it's all pretty functional. And these are the functions themselves. I will preface by saying that some of these Emacs Lisp portions here where I didn't know what to do, I got help from ChatGPT, and as you all know, it is a large language model. It's not a Emacs Lisp coder, so take this with a grain of salt. There are some aspects in here that were an expression of the ChatGPT engine. They may not be the most optimized Emacs Lisp coding. Actually, I'm sure it's not, but it gets the job done for now. And so you see here, basically the deep work function prompts you for the task and how many minutes, and then it creates the org mode timer, and then there's a function to log the time in the CSV file. And you can see there, you could reprogram this to change the timestamp, or you can use a different file. You could use different sounds. Here I just have the on sound in my home folder there. It's just a WAV file, but you could use any sound. You could use a different sound when the timer elapses. That's an option. That's somewhere in the back of Emacs here. The org timer. There's an org timer. I think that's in my config. We could look at that as well. And basically the other important thing here was you needed a way to stop the timer. So I have a deep work abort function. Like if something goes off or if something explodes and you have to leave or there's an emergency, you can stop your deep work time. So let's open another one here. So let's say task is writing. Let's say I want to do 15 minutes. And I'm going to sit here and do some writing, but there's something distracting me and I have to go. You just do deep work abort, and the timer is stopped, and nothing will be recorded. That was another rule from the book, was that if you're keeping track of your deep work, if you're distracted in the middle of a deep work session, you can't count it. You got to be pretty strict on yourself. So even if you wanted to do 20 minutes and you successfully finished 19 minutes, but you forgot to turn your phone off, so you had a phone call and you had to look at it, if you want to be really strict, then yeah, you could stop the timer and then redo those 20 minutes. But again, depending on how strict you want to be, because I mean that in that case, that would sound like you've pretty much done the thing. But anyway, yeah, that is it. That is how, at least in my implementation, I set up a deep work timer. The most important thing here is the logging function to log the time. Because you can use any timer. You could use your watch, or probably not your phone, but you could use a watch. You could use the built-in org timer, and you could write it down on an index card. I liked having it go to the CSV file because it's a little easier for me, and then over the long term I can really see as it builds up. I think that worked well for me. But as I said, almost anything can work. But there you go. I think I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you think. Is this something, a kind of function that might help you, or is it something that you want to implement in your work? Do you want to do more deep work? Have you read that book? I would recommend it. It's pretty good. If there's someone who you think should be a deeper worker, or maybe someone on your team or one of your employees, by all means, share the video with them. If you think a deep work timer is a good idea, go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you want to see more. But I will go ahead and jump off there. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.